Flying Tigers, or officially the American Volunteer Group of the Chinese Air Force, was composed of pilots from the United States Army Air Corps, Navy and Marine Corps, recruited before Pearl Harbor and commanded by Claire Lee Chennault. Their P-40B aircraft, marked with Chinese colors, flew under American control. Their mission was to defend China, but many delays meant that AVG flew in combat after the US and Japan declared war. The American Volunteer Group was largely the creation of Claire Lee Chennault, a retired US Army Air Corps officer who had worked in China since August 1937, first as military aviation advisor to Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek in the early months of the Sino-Japanese War. Of the pilots, 60 came from the Navy and Marine Corps and 40 from the Army Air Corps. The volunteers were discharged from the armed services to be employed for training and instruction by a private military contractor. Chennault preached a radically different approach to air combat based on his study of Japanese tactics and equipment. When Japanese aircraft attack, Chennault's doctrine called for pilots to take on enemy aircraft in teams from an altitude advantage, since their aircraft were not as maneuverable or as numerous as the Japanese fighters they would encounter. He prohibited his pilots from entering into a turning flight with the nimble Japanese fighters, telling them to execute a diving or slashing attack and to dive away and set up for another attack. This dive and zoom technique was contrary to what the men had learned in US service, as well as what the Royal Air Force pilots in Burma had been taught. The 100 P-40 aircraft were created and sent to Burma during spring 1941. AVG fighter aircraft were painted with a large shark face on the front of the aircraft. This was done after pilots saw a photograph of a P-40 of the 112th Squadron of the Royal Air Force in North Africa, which in turn had adopted the shark face from German pilots of the Luftwaffe's Zerstörgeschwader 76 heavy fighter wing. About the same time, the AVG was dubbed the Flying Tigers by its Washington support group. The P-40's good qualities included pilot armor, self-sealing fuel tanks, construction, heavy armament, and a higher diving speed than most Japanese aircraft, qualities that could be used to advantage in accordance with Chennault's combat tactic. The port of Rangoon in Burma and the Burma Road leading from there to China were of crucial importance. Eastern China was under Japanese occupation, so all military supplies for China arrived via the Burma route. By November 1941, when the pilots were trained and most of the P-40s had arrived in Asia, the Flying Tigers were divided into 3 squadrons. 1st Squadron, Adam and Eves, 2nd Squadron, Panda Bears, and 3rd Squadron, Hells Angels. They were assigned to opposite ends of the Burma Road to protect this vital line of communications. With the Burma campaign over, Chennault redeployed his squadrons to provide air protection for China. The AVG's last combat was on the day when it was disbanded on the 1st of July 1942. AVG was officially credited with 297 enemy aircraft destroyed, including 229 in the air. 14 AVG pilots were killed in the action, captured, or disappeared in combat missions. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and support my channel on PayPal. Details in the description box.